Hello, and welcome to the Greystone Manor podcast. I'm your host, ProPro, and this is Spiritual Symbolism and Loss. So, the trigger warning for the podcast today is I will be speaking about a motorcycle accident that involves death. So, if this is too heavy of a topic, please just skip this small, short podcast and wait till next week. I will have a much later topic to talk about then. So I wasn't sure if I was going to write about this or speak about it since it just happened this past weekend. However, I would really like to share that I have been through this before. And, this time around, I've got a lot more spiritual symbolism that came in. And hopefully, by me sharing this experience, will help you or anybody else that is going through a really hard loss or grief, or even just maybe questioning your own spirituality during such a hard time. So, real quick, if you hear anything in the background, there is a thunderstorm coming in, which honestly feels pretty appropriate for the topic for today. Just wanted to give a warning on that because I really don't plan on trying to wait for perfect weather to record this. So, this past weekend, my partner's really close friend, somebody who even helped me out when my partner was going through recovery from his motorcycle accident, um, just passed very quickly. And he was getting ready to ride to a group meetup, and we got a message. I say we, but my partner got a message to check up on his friend because nobody could reach him. So as he is making phone calls, checking out trauma centers and ERs, we're getting nothing. And that's when we decided, well, we live close enough to the emergency department. Why don't we just walk over there and see if there's any new news? And it was on this walk over that I internally asked, just give me a sign or symbol for what is to come. Like, what is to come? What's happening? Like, I felt like I was completely in the dark because my partner gets very quiet, especially during difficult times. And right as I asked that question internally, we came across this bird that passed away, and it was all black, and it was on the ground, and it was fully like wings spread and everything. And looking at it, I was like, oh no. I was like, please don't tell me that it means what I think it means. And right as we turned the corner, this is in the city, I saw a feather. It was a little bit bigger than my palm, pure white. Now, most of the time, feathers in the city are pretty small. They come from much smaller birds. Most of the time, they're not like fully intact. This one was. And immediately I was like, okay, there are angels involved. There is definitely a higher spiritual power at being. And I was like, this is definitely pointing to all the signs that my gut is telling me. And then we get to the emergency department, and right as we're about to go in, we come across a gray feather, like a large one, even bigger than the white one. And I've always associated gray feathers with peace is coming, or peace is coming around a certain transition. And that's when I turned to my partner and I was like, do you want to hear what I'm getting spiritually? And he was hesitant at first, and he's like, well, yeah, I kind of do. He's like, I want to know what's going on. And I was like, well, before I tell you, why don't you try to tap into your own senses, like your own higher power? I was like, imagine there is a cord coming from your stomach, like maybe from your belly button, and it's attached to your friend. I was like, just pull on it, tug on it, see what it feels like. Does it feel light? Does it feel like it's frayed? Does it feel like it's non-existent? So I asked him to do this, and when he did, he noticed that it was very tight. And that kind of gave me the full round picture of everything that I needed. So let's break it down real quick. The blackbird that was spread out. This gave me the symbol that our friend sadly passed, but it was possibly something that was like protected, or it motioned towards something, that there was some type of protection around him during that horrible moment. That's what it felt like to me. And then seeing the white feather, it felt like, oh, this person is surrounded by like angels, a lot of like higher light, a lot of healing light. And then seeing the gray feather symbolized a form of transition and a peaceful transition. So I was like, okay, this happened suddenly. This was protected as best as possible. This has some divine guidance around it, and it's at least peaceful, meaning there wasn't a whole lot of suffering that I was picking up on. However, hearing my partner say that he felt a tightness to his cord, it kind of gave me the chills, because I was like, maybe this happened so quick that even the spirit was trying to come back, like either come back to the body or come back to something. Because when you're pulling really tight on that cord, um, that usually symbolizes that somebody's like grabbing onto it and pulling it like as tight as they can to like pull themselves closer to you. And I might I might be able to do uh, a blog and a podcast on that if anybody is interested in feeling, those tethers and cords that we have to other people. I would love to actually talk about that, but I'll do that maybe another week. So after having all of this spiritual messaging, we decided, you know what, we're not getting any answers from, trying to call the phone, trying to call emergency departments. We need to go out there. So we get on the motorcycle, we take a drive down, and their whole road is completely closed. And during this time, for myself, just because I'm pretty heightened to these kind of things, my arms started tingling, like just a weird tingling, like when you get goosebumps. It felt like that. And we were asking a few questions of the fire police that were kind of blocking the road. And thankfully, I'm very thankful that they were able to like nod their head or shake their head when we asked general questions. It wasn't until I asked a specific question about like certain units that responded that they kind of gave me a certain look, and I was like, okay, I already know the answer. You don't have to elaborate. And they're like, yeah, we can't elaborate. We can't give any answers. And I was like, okay. So as we are sitting there, we're pulled off on the side of the road, we're sitting in the grass. And at this point, my partner is kind of feeling really down and upset. And this is when the next set of spiritual symbols started coming into me, which is, we need to go get something to drink. We need to contact the family and let them know. Because at this point, nothing was confirmed. Nothing was confirmed about who it was who was in the accident. We just knew it was a motorcycle. And yet, like, I don't know what it is. I think it's like that knowing, because I didn't really hear it, but it was just an instant knowing, like, oh, contact the family, like this is what we need to do. And it felt weird because it felt like I was getting like a step-by-step guide on like, okay, this is what we need to do, this is what's going to happen next, and this is the grief that might potentially come up. So my partner and I, we go down to a gas station, we get something to drink, we come back to the site just to kind of say our own piece. And that's when we saw like the final unit responding, that we both knew what it was. And at that point, my partner got really quiet. And for some reason, I just kept getting this knowing that it will be okay. Like, this person is totally, their spirit is a little shocked, but they are totally okay. Like, they are absolutely fine with everything that transpired. So, fast forward, now we're a few days past this horrible incident. And it's been really interesting to see even my partner right now have this crazy awakening. And it just reminded me of the one that I went through back in 2022 when I lost one of my closest friends. And as much as loss is the worst experience, on this earthly plane, I just want to say that loss and grief can also hold something so beautiful. And that is believing in something outside of ourselves, believing in something higher than ourselves. It just, there's a way that it brings you to this, like, this sense of almost questioning what knowing is, questioning, like, why did this happen? And it, even for me, it brought me a lot closer, I say, to my own spirituality, but it made me see things completely different. I started noticing nature around me even more, like the colors were more vibrant, even though I was going through such a difficult time. I started being more aware of, some of the birds and their song and what they symbolized to me. I started, at this point, I was trying to collect feathers, but that's technically not allowed. But I started collecting rocks that made me feel at peace, that made me think of the people that I've lost. I even started hugging trees during this time. And I'm starting to see that same pattern happen in my own partner, where he was kind of on the border of, like, what he believes in, what he doesn't believe in. And now I'm seeing him, like, really noticing things, like really being in tune with asking himself about, like, what does this mean? And I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but if you have, just know you're not alone. Like, it's a very difficult time, it's very hard to process. And at the same time, there is something greater that is usually happening for your own expansion. So, the best way to honor a soul that has departed from earth, I would say, is make offerings to nature, make offerings to an altar, make offerings to the family, such as, like, cooking something or baking something, or even just bringing over pictures or trinkets. And another way is talking about the person, sharing your stories, reminiscing on all of those good times. Because when we do this, it actually fuels the soul to accept what has happened, feel all the love and compassion towards every situation that they've experienced on earth, and then eventually move into the spirit realm where they can find some type of rest and peace and happiness. And just as a disclaimer, that's what I believe in. If that sounds correct to you, then you're more than welcome to believe it too. But if that doesn't sound correct to you, or maybe you have a different belief on, the soul's path and journey, please just trust your own gut instinct on that. So, to end, if you are seeing symbols that, and symbolisms like synchronicities, feathers, even rocks, certain songs or music playing, and it gives you a certain feeling of certain type of knowing, I really hope that you can start to trust that. Even if it's scary, just know that spirit or your higher self or even your guardian angel, they're holding your hand while sending you those images or those symbols or those synchronicities, so that you can get the information to help you through your own grief. And with that, I'm going to end it here. I'm sorry that today's topic was a little bit heavier than usual. I just wanted to share this experience because I already know that there are so many people who go through loss. And I think it's time that we stop tiptoeing around hard discussions like this, because they really are magical and beautiful in their own way. And with that, I will catch you all next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't read the blog post, it's a little bit more short and direct. And if hearing this might be piquing your interest, just take a look over there. I'll have the link below. And I will see you all next time. Bye.